Since then, I've moved her 5 times, and we are getting ready this next weekend to move her a sixth. Every facility, I have faced lies from the sales crew, which I discovered as a part of my journey. They don't work for the facility. They are strictly there to sell you a bill of goods that is wrong. In her most recent facility, that was that she would have care, and there was no care. There is one nurse there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. After that, she is cared for by aides, none of which have degrees, none of which have medical expertise. And it's been a nightmare. She is about to be moved to a facility that her hospice team picked out. Thank God, because they're in and out of it with their patients. And they said they take care of their people. So I am praying that her last place will give her some peace. Never should have taken this long. Never should have experienced what she experienced. So, Debbie, you have been blessed in not having to see your mother do this. But what are your thoughts?
Fortunately, my mom is still cognitively in good shape. Some memory issues, but I think it's mostly because I'm retired, she's retired. She asked me, "What's today?" I have to stop and think. But she has developed some heart issues that require her to be on nearly full-time oxygen. And that plays into mobility issues. She uses full-time oxygen at the house. She uses a walker at the house. But my mom is not someone who wants to stay at home all the time. She's was a very active, very productive woman, very independent woman all of her life. And so she wants to get out, see things, do things. Doing things has become difficult for her, but she still drives. She's 91 years old, but without someone with her, she would not be able to leave the house because we have several steps up to our front porch. I have to carry her walker down. If there's something going on, she's had some recent issues which required bandaging of her legs. So I have to be there to treat that and bandage it. We have a nurse that does come in once a week to check on her. She's really not able to do much physical. And so most of what I do is fetch and carry and make sure that she's able to leave the house when she wants to. She's pretty good at keeping up with her medications. She does have some trouble with technical things, but as technology grows, some of us get left behind, and so I don't really. But she has fallen a few times, and she cannot get up by herself. So someone has to be with her, not necessarily 24/7, but especially at night. She's fallen twice at night, and my husband and I have had to help her up off the floor. So that's been my experience. I know that some people who are caregivers have a bedbound parent and takes a lot more care. I'm fortunate that mom just really needs some basic care and company. Susie, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I was thinking about, talking about just kind of getting older and, you know, the level of care, you need certain things. But, I feel like a long time ago, people kind of revered that wisdom of, oh, the elders, let's go to them. They know, they've been through it. And over time, and so I don't know, I feel like elderly weren't really seen so much as a burden, which that's not my term, but I know a lot of people have used that. But that's not so much anymore. And so I think a lot of people kind of fight getting older because they want to maintain that, everlasting youthful, like I'm independent, I can take care of things, I can do it. And once upon a time, yes, our elderly parents, they were very independent. They did, they could do it, and they did. um, but where people don't see that so much as an asset anymore, elderly are kind of fighting it. It's hard for them to accept help at times, even
Mm,
when it's really needed. I got very lucky with my mom because she had lived in an apartment after my dad died. She was there alone for 10 years, and I lived close, went back and forth, and just kind of did what I could. Well, then as she declined, I was there more and more and more. Um, and finally, it got to be where, I thought I was doing her a favor by trying to care for her at home. But after several falls, she did not even feel safe. So I got lucky again. Her last hospitalization, she went to rehab after, and she said to me, I think it's time we talk about, you know, I don't know that I can go home. I don't want to go home.
mm.
So we just kind of fell into this wonderful facility they have a rehab, they have assisted living and independent living and skilled nursing, like what you kind of need more towards the end. So she
Mhm.
went from the rehab, we got her into the assisted living part. Um, and again, we got very lucky there because I mean, I feel horrible hearing about, Dawn's mom, my aunt, the things she goes through because my mom has certified medication aides, certified nursing assistants. Um, they know their stuff. In fact, it was about 6 months before I realized the certified medication aide. I thought she was her nurse because she comes in, she does stats. My mom just pushes a button. They're there in anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes. Someone comes in. Um, they're very knowledgeable. So, but I do think I hate to say it, but I think that's probably the exception more than the norm. And of course, we're paying for it. We're paying dearly for it, but that's the other side of it. But there again, it's just those steps you take. And I got lucky with my mom being ready to do it and being agreeable about it. But for those who aren't and fight it, fight it, fight it, it's a double-edged sword. So,
Well, both of you have mentioned medication and things like that. The most recent thing that happened to mom in the facility we're moving her out of, I received a call that the untrained medication aide had given my mom another patient's pills. I'm not sure how that happens. I might have understood them accidentally giving mom too many of her own pills, but how do you give her someone else's pills? It turned out okay, but we've just been counting the days since then till we can get her to a safer situation. So all of those things play a part. In the research, they said there are 6 things that are problematic for elder care, and medication over medication and control of medication are 3 of them. And the other 3 are depression, isolation, and loneliness. And if there was one thing over everything that my mom has been through, That isolation and loneliness has been the worst. Our old people are placed in facilities and forgotten. My mom has all these grandkids, great grandkids, and there are two that come to see her regularly. She is alone and she knows it. And all of her friends are gone. As a matter of fact, she's gone through her age of friends and she's now to my brother's age of friends. So my brother's friend, Herb, and his family go to see my mom because all of her friends are gone. She has literally no friends left. And so it may not be right and it may not be fair, but we created this society in which we want people to live forever and will Botox and tie up and lift and everything else in this attempt to be eternal. But the bottom line is, it doesn't do you any good to look like a Hollywood starlet if you feel like you've been buried and left alive. There's no quality of life for these elderly. They are in situations that are, from Susie's example, for the circumstances, the best that can be, to everything my mom's experienced, which is the worst, right? So, at one point, I asked the question when I think it was when her second place sold for the second time. And each time the rent went up and the care went down. Yeah. And I thought, who is profiting from this? How did we get here? I think there are a whole lot of answers to that. My personal favorite is that we had begun to, until this current administration proved so horrific, to decide that billionaires were a good thing, in spite of the fact that they were buying our houses, our businesses, and our nursing homes. And they weren't just buying them, they were using them as tax shelters. And then when they were drained of all profits, they dumped them and they left sitting empty across our country. Debbie, your thoughts?
You both have mothers who were willing to go into facilities, who felt that that was what they needed. There is no way I can ever put my mom in a facility. She's so adamantly against that. And I can understand her point of view because so many times they just become warehouses until people die. They get stuck in a nursing home and forgotten about. So I understand her fear. So as she continues to age and her health and mobility most likely will continue to have problems, we will deal with that at home. And listening to your stories and other people's stories, though, I really want to bring out that caregivers need a community of people who understand what they're going through. I know Dawn has been through lots and lots of paperwork issues and moving her mom and all kinds of stuff that are extremely stressful. I'm sure, Susie, you've had to do some of that as well. Plus, having a parent in a facility, if you're a loving child, you do have to make time to be with them part of that time. You can't just warehouse them. And so a lot of caregivers need the support of other caregivers who understand what they've been going through. And building a community like that really helps. It really sometimes bolsters you up to handle the next issue that comes up with the caregiving. Another thing I want to, this is not necessarily community based, but as a caregiver and you're dealing with all that kind of stress, you do need to find things that you can do that is for you and only for you. That takes care of yourself, that brings you joy, that it gives you the energy to continue with the stressful part of your life. Susie?
Yeah, there have been many times that I have, the stay awake at night issue. Have I made the right decision? She's counting on me. She asks me to make these decisions. I haven't just stepped in and said, we're doing this. She'll say to me, I don't know about this, you decide. And being power of attorney and all of that, I can do that. But I second guess myself a lot through the years. And at times I have felt like, okay, do I have any of my friends going through this at the same time? Not so much, but I have Dawn, my cousin. We've had many texts and phone calls like, okay, what the hell is happening? Explain this to me. No, but you do need a community around you. One of the hardest things I think that I've done is just watching my mom go through those feelings of at times feeling lonely and depressed. And when I was trying to take care of her when she was still by herself in the apartment, I was doing all the physical stuff and then the business stuff and then trying to keep up the emotional, like, it's going to be okay. This is great. And I just wanted her to feel safe. And the thing is, she trusts me. And at times I think I'm the only one she trusted. But when it came down to it, the last 6 months, with all of my wonderful intentions, I could not keep teaching full time and taking care of her not quite full time, but practically. And finally, and then there's that guilt. Okay, well, I'm working. I need to work, but then, my mom's needs do not go on the school schedule. They don't cooperate with that, and the thing is, I can always go back to work full time. I won't always have my mom to take, to be there. And I love her wisdom. I covet her wisdom. She's
stories.
it's it's just, I think it's a privilege to be honest, to be able to care for her. And do you know what? When she went into assisted living, the very first night, we got her moved in. The director of sales that had helped us with the room and the getting it all set up, the CNA that was on shift that day and helped get her things in. We were all kind of standing there and it was getting to be evening time. And so the director says, okay, well, I'm going to head out now. Okay. And then the CNA was telling my mom, okay, at any time you push your button, here's this. And just kind of giving her the lay of the land. And I was just kind of standing there and she goes, okay, well, good night, Patty. You push your button if you need anything. And then my mom kind of looks over at me and she goes, well, you can go home. I'm okay. And like, I just couldn't quite turn her over. I'm like, really? She goes, no. She goes, you know what? I feel more at home here this first night than I did in my apartment, for years. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, really? Go ahead. I kind of want to watch my TV show. And, I'm like, okay. But you know what? After that, I have now, for the last year, 13 months, I've been her daughter. I've not been the housekeeper or the, go over and make her meals, come back the next day and I see she hasn't touched any of it. And then, and then I'm the nutritionist. Oh my gosh, she didn't get this. I'm her daughter now. And that's been amazing. So again, there's decisions to be made. And maybe watching her kind of loneliness and isolation, depression, maybe I kind of had my own as the caregiver. But like you said, I've had to rely on people like Dawn and just seek out my own support, if that makes sense.
Well, what do you guys think about this poison idea that we have in our society that profit comes before humanity? I know how I feel about it. I'm offended. I feel like we have cheapened the cost of life to nothing. In our quest to keep people alive forever, we've actually made things far worse. Not only for our parents, but guys, we're next in line for this journey. And I have never been a big believer in people living to 110 just to say they lived to 110. What's the quality of life? I'd much rather die at 70 and have had a good run of it than live to 100 and been miserable for the last 40. That's
Come on, unmute. There we go. I think this is a stretch. Bear with me. I think Hollywood has a whole lot to do with the idea that only the young are valuable. Only the pretty, only the tall, dreamy guys, only they are valuable. And once you stop looking like that, then your time's up. In the past, the fact that you lived to be old was a big deal. And those people were looked at for the wisdom they gained because they lived long. I watched a creator on Facebook the other day. He's a young Native American talking about how important the grandmothers in their communities were, the wisdom they held, the history that they knew and could pass down to the next generation and to the next generation. And depending on the family, some of that still exists within a family, but as a culture, as a society, is totally dismissed. And I think we're losing out on a lot by not recognizing the contribution older people can still make.
Yeah. I think that's the worst. When you have someone like Stephen Hawking's, who, for the disease he had, far outlived, what he should have. Other people with that same disease do not live nearly as long as he did. It's because the disease he had left his brain intact. It was the rest of him that couldn't. And so he was able to continue to contribute to society in the way that he felt most passionate about. He was also still listened to because people did know that his brain was the functioning part of him. Our elderly, that may not always be the case, But I'll tell you something, they have the best stories.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Just, my mom, they were all in the cafeteria, and one of the gentlemen got up to return to his room, and he saw a bug on the floor. Big bug. And he just knew that these ladies would not like a bug around them when they were trying to eat. And so he stepped on it and it bounced back. And he was really, at that point, concerned. And so he did a rather, I guess, creative dance of stomping on the bug, while the lady the bug belonged to was laughing too hard to tell him it was her hair clip. I'm sorry. That's priceless, right? I mean, we hear bad stories constantly, and there's always the worries, and as Susie put it, the guilt and the constant something. And yet there's still humor there. They still see humor, they hear it, they enjoy it. They all knew it was a barrette, but they were not going to rob him of his moment of heroism in taking out the big bug. So I really feel like we need to encourage all aspects of our society to realize that Wall Street does not matter. Private equity firms have no business being the owners of nursing homes. And when you start cost cutting because your profit margin isn't big enough for you, and because of it, old people die, I don't know how you look yourself in the mirror ever. I think we probably all agree that profit and this whole obsession with for profit that our country has to change. Debbie?
Absolutely. I can give you many, many examples of how a government thing got turned over to a private sector management and how horribly it resulted. And it's still going on. I want to get back to the community just a little bit. I talked a little bit about how the caregivers need community just to help handle the stress and to know you're not alone. But I think you've brought up some really good points that these older people need community as much or more. If they are in assisted living, many times they build community within that group. But people who are not in institutions often can't get out easily to spend time with people their own age, or even to do entertainment type things. I know my mom has stopped going to where we live on Saturday night. The seniors get together and play cards and dominoes and whatever, and she's always enjoyed that. But she stopped going because it just seemed too difficult to get her oxygen and her walker and everything and go and come back, and so she's missing out. And I think a lot of older people really suffer from that loneliness, that inability to be in community with other people. And it's only going to get worse. One of the things I was shocked at was, let's see if I can find it in my notes. They expect in the next decade that I mentioned 63 Americans are now caregivers. That's 1 in 4 adults. They expect that to grow by 20 million by 2030.
Every 20 years, the number of people retiring increases.
And there's fewer younger people to step in because our lower birth rate, which I approve of, but it does have consequences to the older generation.
If you're not insulted enough by the for-profit BS, and like Debbie, in doing the reading, I stumbled. Sorry, guys. I struggled with some of the information that I discovered. But the most offensive thing I found was that the profit-driven industry is referred to in private equity as the gray gold. Did they not have parents? I mean, how can you ever refer to your parents and the care they receive as your gray gold mine? I mean, please. I think that care has become a commodity. Residents are a revenue stream. And like so many other areas of our society, we have seen compassion disappear. I want to thank you for joining us for one of the most important discussions of this season and topic. If you're a caregiver, do not suffer alone. There are others, many of them. We must help each other through the most difficult moments of this journey. This is Dawn Allen and Debbie Burkhart signing off until July, when the discussion will be communities of need, charitable causes. We'll discuss charitable service, specific needs, cancer patients, handicapped children, etc., all in one bundle. Have a wonderful summer and try to make every day a matter of joy.